Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Once again, we've got a slacker just like yesterday. Amelito Enriquez is a professor of engineering and mathematics at Cañada College in Redwood City. He has a BS in engineering from the University of the Philippines, an MS in geodetic science from Ohio State University, and a PhD in mechanical engineering from the University of California, Irvine. He is chair-elect of the American Society of Engineering Education Pacific Southwest section, a member of the California Mathematics Council Community Colleges, and the California Engineering Liaison Council, and serves on the review board of the Journal of Research and Innovative Teaching. Amelito is also the principal investigator of at least 5 grants that I know about. A STEM grant from the U.S. Department of Education, a NASA grant for curriculum improvement, 1 NSF grant for innovations in engineering education, another Department of Education grant for minority science and engineering improvement, and another NSF grant for STEM scholarships. He's also received grants from the Veterans Employment Related Assistance Program. Is it DINO? Do you want to know? Yes, he nodded. Okay. And Hewlett-Packard. And altogether, Dr. Enriquez has brought more than $10 million to Cañada College and our system. Last year, Amelito was honored by President Obama as the only community college recipient of the Presidential Award for Excellence in Science, Mathematics, and Engineering Mentoring. And last week, he was invited to a luncheon with U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Philippine President Aquino. He comes to us fresh from the American Society for Engineering Education in San Antonio. Amelito is proof that our system contains hidden gems, true heroes who quietly go about their mission to change the world one step at a time. And I've spent some time watching Amelito for a while now, and I've never ever detected a hint of ego or arrogance, although in my opinion he's entitled to it. He's a man of initiative and vision who is being really a leader in our profession and building a better future. So it's a great honor for me to present to you Amelito Enriquez.
I forgot to change the computer out for the second day in a row.
So enter for yourself.
I just told Amelito that I'm a Cañada College graduate, and I forgot to change the
Anyone
computer.
here from Cañada College? Welcome.
Yes.
I see my name. Janet, I need to talk to you later. I have a couple of forms you need to sign. I'm serious. I have them in my bag.
I'm the Dean of Technology. It doesn't mean I know what I'm doing. He's got it. Maybe I just pulled it out. I think. Just real quickly, when I saw the slide up there that said Cañada College at the bottom, I thought, you know what Dr. Young said? I'm a Cañada College graduate, and look what's come around. There are a couple teachers, Frank Young and Craig Hoffman, that's probably not there anymore, and I think he's passed away as a matter of fact, but those 2 people, if they knew that I was a dean at a community college, would fall over in a dead faint.
Yeah, I'm proud to be part of Cañada College. So my presentation today is called Confessions of a Reluctant Online Instructor, and as I said, I'm from Cañada College in Redwood City. It's not in La Cañada, as someone asked earlier. So when I got back from my conference last night from San Antonio, first thing I did was look at the conference schedule program for the day, and there were 3 things I just cut and pasted. There's 3 things that really disturbed me about the program. Okay, the first one was I was supposed to talk for 2 hours. I would be worried too if I were you. You don't want to hear me talk for 2 hours. But Blaine said that it's not really for 2 hours. The second one is webcasts. That there's a camera. I tend to say stupid things when there's a camera in front of me. And Janet knows this. More stupid than usual. I get really nervous and I start, saying things I'm not supposed to say. And also, when I get really nervous, combine that with not enough sleep, I start speaking in Tagalog. So when I start talking in Tagalog, that's because I'm nervous and I'm tired. And the third one was, it's supposed to be a general session. About 2 weeks ago, I looked at the program and it said, keynote speaker. So I kind of was familiar with what a keynote speech was, but I wasn't really sure what a general session was. So being a good academician and researcher, I did what I needed to do. I went online and Googled general session, and this is what I found. Okay, I wrote it down. General session, because I wanted to make sure that I'm addressing what needs to be addressed. General session. A court of general jurisdiction in criminal cases in some U.S. states. And when I saw that, I don't think that's the general session that they're referring to. So I went down the list, towards the bottom, I saw something that's a little more appropriate, I think. It says, a general session speaker is typically a keynote speaker. Some conferences provide a facility for all conference attendees to gather at once. So I think this is the appropriate definition. I see that we're all gathered here. And the good thing about it is nothing in the definition says something about the speech being either interesting or useful. So I can pretty much say whatever I want. It would still be a general session because we're all gathered here in one setting. So I'm a little more relaxed as a result of that. On the other hand, I started thinking about what my Speech 101 class told me about 33, 34 years ago. Before you write or prepare a speech, you need to know your audience. Other than the Cañada people that are here, and some people I've met, hi Grace, from other conferences, I really don't know much about you guys, and I want to make sure that I know, because my speech teaches that I need to know something about you so I can do my best to address your needs. So, and I have not been here until this morning, so I didn't get a chance to really get to know you a little bit. So what I thought was I will try and do that right now. We have plenty of time anyway. So what I've done is I created a list of questions, and I want you to respond to my questions by standing up if it's something that pertains to you. Does that sound like a plan? It's good for digestion too, because I know a lot of you are eating a lot for breakfast this morning. So let's start, okay? I have a list of 15 questions. I'll just read each one, and I want you to respond, okay? So first one, please stand up if you started your college education in a community college. Of course, Pat is one of us. Okay, thank you. You can sit now. Please stand up if you're the first in your family to go to college. Okay, we have some first generation college students. Thank you. You should be proud that you're here. You obviously finished. Stand up if English is not your first language. You should be proud. It's not easy to be in a community college setting if English is not your first. Stand up if English is not your first or second language. Meaning you had a first language and you spoke something else after that. Thank you, without you. Stand up if you were not expected to go to college. When you were in high school, nobody expected you to go to college. You should be proud also, Stand up if you had not taken math higher than Algebra 1 in high school. I thought they need Algebra 2 to graduate. Maybe during those times they did. Number 7, stand up if you have ever felt you are not good enough to be a college student when you were in college. If you felt like, I shouldn't be here, I don't belong here. Thank you. You should be proud you got over that. Stand up, by the way, in the spirit of of the title of my presentation is confessions, so you're sort of confessing to me. Stand up if you ever received the lowest test score in any of your classes when you were in college. We have some really honest people here. Thank you. They need to be commended. Stand up if you had ever thought about quitting school or changing your major because you thought it was too hard when you were in college. Okay, I'm glad you didn't, and you should be proud of that. We're on number 10 now. Stand up if you had to work more than 20 hours a week to finance your college education. I knew it, that there was a whole bunch of hard-working people here. Why else would you be here in the summer, You should be on vacation. You are really dedicated. And stand up if you were ever homeless in your life.
Does living out of a tent camping count?
If it's for pleasure, it doesn't count. If you had to do it, yeah, then it does. Stand up if your family income was below poverty level for most of your life when you were growing up. Thank you. Stand up if you were ever a member of a gang. We have a whole bunch of goody-goodies here. Stand up if you've ever been in jail. I knew it. Confessions, Okay, the last one. Stand up if you have witnessed a friend or family member being killed as a result of violence. Thank you. So, what I've seen is that a lot of you stand up multiple times. Okay, I ask these questions because if I ask these questions to my students, almost all of them will stand up multiple times. So I'm glad to see that a lot of us have a lot of things in common with our students because it gives us a special advantage, But at the same time, as an educator, we should not always think of our students as being the same as us, I hear a lot of faculty members would say, oh, I used to just listen to my instructor and I did fine. What's wrong with these kids? I just want you to remember that they are a lot of times very, very different from who you are. So as an educator, you have to put that into perspective. Okay, so I'm glad we did this exercise because before I came here, I thought you were just a whole bunch of what?
Nerds.
Hard-working nerds, yes. I didn't want to use that word. I was trying to be nice about it. And just to investigate, I'm just curious, how many of you had received or sent a text message since you woke up this morning? Can you stand up? I can't even remember the last time I sent a text message. Seriously. I've heard that kids nowadays can send text messages at a speed of about 60 words per minute. I think for me it's more like 6 letters per second. I don't know, 6 letters per minute. So I never do it. So I'm not. It's only fair for me to kind of say something about me because you confessed, So part of who I am is I'm not an expert on technology. My texting speed is 6 letters per minute, seriously. Also, I'm not an expert on education. I never did any research on education. I'm not an expert on online education. So why am I here? I don't know. You should ask Blaine and Michelle. They're the ones who invited me. So, but what I can share is that just to kind of show you who I am, if you go over the list of 15 questions I asked earlier, all of those but 3 are true about me. And I'm not going to tell you which 3. Okay, I'll say one. There's no such thing as a community college in the Philippines, so I didn't go to community college. The rest, it's your guess. Uh, so why am I here if I'm not an expert? I think a lot to do with my experience. I have first-hand experience on what our students go through in their education. I came from a very, very poor family. My high school, my elementary and high school, we didn't have bathrooms. If you have to, this was in Manila. It's not in some remote area. It was in Manila, but it's in the poorest neighborhood of Manila. That's all we could afford. We didn't have bathrooms. If you need to go to the bathroom, you go to the fields, or you walk home and go to the bathroom. But mostly, you just learn how to keep it to yourself and wait till you get home. We didn't have books, only the teacher's books, and a typical day would just be the teacher would ask one of the students to copy everything on the board, and the students will just copy, And in the entire history of my high school, no one has ever gone to the university I went to, which is the University of the Philippines. Of course, I wanted to go there because people said, "You're crazy. Nobody goes there. Nobody can go there." So I experienced the fact that I felt like I didn't belong in college. The first day of my freshman year, my classmates were speaking English. I grew up with no electricity for the first 11 years of my life. We didn't have a TV. They know how to speak English. I didn't. And so I felt like, oh my God, why am I doing it? I don't belong here. My first class in freshman English. People then were not politically correct. So my professor did a diagnostic test measuring the size of our vocabulary, and I remember the size of my vocabulary was 6,000, and the lowest in the class, and the class average was about 12 to 13,000. Oh my God, I really don't belong here. So I am in a way an expert when it comes to the type of students that we deal with, and I think that's part of the reason that I feel I have something to say, although I'm not an expert in so many ways. Plus the fact, of course, that I'm good buddies with my friend Barack. Yeah, his hand was on my shoulder. Only my freshman English teacher can see this. Maybe she does. So this was taken from the White House, as Blaine referred to earlier. And the one on top I just took, that was taken by some random lady last week. I was having a conversation with the president of the Philippines, and people were taking pictures, and suddenly it occurred to me, oh my God, I don't know these people. How am I going to get copies of those pictures? So I have a camera, and I asked one of these ladies was serving lunch. Can you please take a picture? And apparently she's not very good at taking pictures. It's my only picture with the president of the Philippines. It's so blurry, but I'll take it. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring my own entourage to take pictures. Anyway, so I think this qualifies me to be able to speak. I don't know. So that's about who I am. Now I should probably give you an outline of a presentation. Okay, we're doing good on time. We have until 11. I'd like to thank Dr. Hong. Is his name? The President Hong. For using some of my time, so it gives you less time to worry about. So I'll first give you a snapshot of the state of STEM education. My career has really been devoted to increasing or broadening participation among minority students in STEM and engineering in particular. And I'll give you a background on why I started teaching online courses at Cañada College and how I use CC Confer, in my classes. And I'll give you a case study that I did on the effectiveness of online teaching and the impact this has had on Cañada's engineering department. A few pointers, only a few, because I know most of you are probably more proficient in using CC Confer in your classes. And also something on increasing interactivity in the class. Did I say something? Oh, 10:30. Okay, thank you. 10:30. Oh, thank you very much. That helps a lot even more. Okay. Impact of technology enhanced interactivity. you know, in my teaching, and also my plans in sharing my success with other institutions. Okay, so when my students do a presentation, first thing I tell them is that try not to have a slide that's so busy. Of course, this one's in violation of that. My first slide in my presentation too. But this is a snapshot of the state of STEM education in the country in 2008. This is the latest I could find that I have updated. So how do we read this graph? It's a little busy. Okay, so let's see. Oh, I got this free from the conference last week, and I like attending conferences. Or maybe I use my. Okay, so this one here, the blue one, okay, represents the ethnic distribution. This is really ethnic distribution of the U.S. population in this age group, 18 to 24. Why 18 to 24? The National Science Foundation says that that's the college-going age now. So what it's saying is that, okay, let's try and interpret this graph. Okay, among those who are 18 to 24 years old, okay, 61%, this is not working too well. Let me use my 61% of them are white, 17% are Hispanic, and so on and so forth. Okay? So these numbers here. Okay? Then the red one, the red bars represent, okay, the ethnic distribution of those who are enrolled in college regardless of their majors. So it says here, among all of those who are currently enrolled in college, higher than 61% are white, lower than 17% are Hispanic, and so on and so forth. Okay, I hope you understand what I'm trying to show here in this graph. And the green shows that among those who are enrolled, okay, this is the ethnic distribution of those who are studying engineering. And finally, what color is that? Purple. Okay, that's the ethnic distribution of those who get degrees in engineering. So I'm trying to show the progression from blue to red to red to green to purple in order to sort of trace the progression or the source of underrepresentation of these underrepresented minorities. Okay? Because if we are trying to solve this problem, there's a big buzzword nowadays, broadening participation in STEM, We need to understand what's going on from blue to red, red to green, green to purple, because all of those different stages all contribute to the underrepresentation of minorities. Okay? So, in conclusion, based on this graph, okay, among underrepresented minorities, there's a smaller percentage who attend college, and of those who go to college, a smaller percentage of them go into engineering, and among those who go to engineering, an even lower percentage complete their degrees. Okay? So we're going to try and, I did, come up with some reasons why this is going on. Okay, believe me, I'm going to try to relate it to online teaching later on. Okay? So, for instance, why is it that from blue to red, there's a decrease among Hispanics, African Americans, and the other underrepresented students? Well, it's fairly easy to see. Why is it that fewer of them go to college? Well, to start with, they graduate high school and prepare for college work, and we all know this, This is just, I just took this from the Silicon Valley, that's where our area here is, and also Redwood City, which is where Cañada College is. As you can see, okay, the underrepresented minorities, fewer of them graduate meeting the UC and the CSU requirements. So technically speaking, they're not ready for college. It's a good thing that we have community colleges and they can go to community college. So it's no surprise that fewer of them go to college because fewer of them are ready for college. Okay, so that kind of addresses the blue to red transition. Now let's go from red to green. So why is it that fewer underrepresented minorities major in science, technology, engineering, math. So this is among those who go to college, okay, a smaller percentage of them go to STEM. Well, a very common reason that people say is that they're just not interested. You know, they would rather not study STEM. But this is not necessarily the case. I don't know how you can sort of understand what this graph is saying. Okay, so this is the distribution of incoming freshmen intended majors. Okay, so what this says is what? If you look at Asians, you know, a lot of them are interested in STEM when they come to college. Okay, but if you compare Caucasians, for instance, with respect to African Americans and Hispanics, they're not less interested. The underrepresented minorities are not necessarily less interested, right? Even for engineering. If you look at what they intend to major, but if you look at the courses or the majors that they actually get into, there's fewer of them. They are interested, they just don't go into in those majors. So it's not because they're not interested, they're clearly more interested than Caucasians. So why do you think that if they are interested in going into STEM, they still end up not going into STEM? Maybe I should make you stand up again to So what I did is I kind of looked at Cañada College and sort of see really if it's true that underrepresented minorities are really more interested in engineering in particular or STEM. If you look at this, it's another slide that's kind of hard to interpret, okay? This is the among students who took the placement test from 2006 to 2010. Okay, the first row here, okay, is the ethnic distribution of everyone who took the math placement test. So what these numbers here say is that among those who took the math placement test, 37% were Mexican American, 30% were white, and so on and so forth. Okay, you can see Redwood City is, Cañada College is a Hispanic serving institution. We have about 39%. Okay. Now, if you look at the second row, of those who took the math placement test, although only 37% of them were Mexican Americans, 46% of them. Okay, so here I go. I'm sleepy and nervous. Okay, I'm going to start speaking Tagalog. Okay, so let's look at the second row. What this number means is that among those who declared majors in engineering, 46% were Mexican Americans, 27.8% were Caucasian. Does that make sense? So clearly what that illustrates is that Mexican Americans, our biggest ethnic minority group underrepresented group in Cañada, are more interested in engineering. That's what I'm trying to illustrate. And yet, okay, only less than 20% actually transfer. Oh, okay. Among those who transferred over this period, only 19.4% were Hispanic. So what this clearly indicates is that they come in interested, okay, but not a lot of them actually finish and transfer. Or in fact, not a lot of them end up in my classes, the engineering classes. So they come in, they're interested, but they either don't take engineering, because I never get to see a lot of them, or if they do, they're less successful and fewer of them transfer. So it kind of, it's a combination of the transition from red to green and green to purple kind of thing. Okay, so why is it that if they're interested, they don't go into engineering? Okay, here's a clear picture, okay? A lot of them have very, very low scores in the math placement test. And if you want to be an engineering student, okay, you have to complete up to differential equations. So depending on where you place, so for instance, I have a high school student who is, say, Mexican American interested in becoming an engineer, and they place into pre-algebra or algebra 1. They have to finish pre-algebra, algebra 1, algebra 2, trig, pre-calculus, calculus 1, 2, 3, differential equations, linear algebra. That's 10 semesters of math. That's 5 years of their lives. You know. And they go, oh, I really want to become an engineer, but in the meantime I have family obligations, so maybe I should just do music. Not that there's anything wrong with music, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Our STEM education in general is not accessible to a lot of our underrepresented minorities. So if you're not ready for college, if you're not ready for calculus, we're giving them the message, oh, go to some other major. Don't go into STEM. I'm just showing you the problem. I'm not here to give you the solution. So what has the federal government done to address this problem of broadening participation? Everyone is now in agreement that in order to come up with enough scientists, mathematicians, engineers in the future, we have to tap into community colleges. There's been a change in the thinking that before we didn't even exist from the point of view of a lot of the universities. So what has the federal government done in order to address this problem? So I kind of did a little bit of research. Again, it's a very, very simplistic analysis. I'm not a researcher, okay, and I'm trying to make a point, so just bear with me. Okay, so here's the funds for STEM education for MSIs, which are minority-serving institutions. A lot of our institutions are MSIs. I looked at 2007 because that's the data I could find, okay? So we have historically black colleges and universities, okay? And it says here that 78 out of the 102 HBCUs received funds in 2007. Okay, so let's look at what this, let's focus on 2007. Okay, so funds received 406 million, okay, and the degrees that those institutions awarded 40,401. What that means is for every single student who graduated, the federal government spent an extra 13,145 per student on this HBCUs, historical black colleges and universities. Similar scenario for high Hispanic enrollment or HSIs, Hispanic serving institutions. Okay, so what this means is that, okay, for each degree in STEM for Hispanic students, the federal government spent an additional $12,737 per student. That's a lot of money, right? Per year, okay? So you're basically giving. So has it made any difference? So I tracked the number of degrees, at least for engineering, over the last several years prior to that 2007, 2008. Okay, and if you look at the green one, African Americans, it doesn't look like the extra, how much was it? 14 or 13,000 didn't make a difference. The percentage is actually going down. Native Americans is pretty flat, okay, and some of you would go, oh, Hispanic, we're making a lot of progress here. What do you think? Is it really a lot of progress? Those of you who have taken or teach math, you should know that you need to compare this to the rate of change of the general population, college going age, and if you see this slight increase is actually way, way smaller compared to the rate of increase among Hispanic students. So for me, again, it's simplistic. It doesn't seem like it's making any difference. Okay, so when I started thinking, why is this the case? Why are we doing this? By the way, don't report me to the U.S. Department of Education NSF because I get some money from them too. So it's our own little secret. Oh, is this going to be, Phil, is this going to be available to be seen in public? Then you just edit that. Oh, anyway, it's okay. And part of the reasons is I looked at the top institutions who got all this money, at least until 2007, okay? They are almost all four-year schools, you know? Which to me doesn't make sense because most of the underrepresented students are actually in community colleges. So they're giving all this money to four-year schools in order to better serve the underrepresented minorities who are actually not in four-year schools. It has changed quite a bit. You've heard of HSI STEM, right? A lot of community colleges, especially in California. So hopefully, you know, the money that's being spent currently right now will make a lot more difference. So to me, that didn't really make sense because part of the reason is the system's not really flawed, you know, but the system is set up in such a way that they have these pots of money that are made available to institutions regardless of what type of institution you have. And of course, if you are from a community college, from a one-person department who has never applied for any kind of federal grant, you will be competing against, you know, machines and what do you call it? Organizations whose main focus is going after this. You never get a chance, you know. But you know, sometimes you do. So it's very discouraging, and it only makes sense why the four-year schools are getting all the money because they have all the mechanisms in order to get the funding. Again, I'm just showing the problem. I don't necessarily have a solution to it. Okay. If, for instance, I'm just doing a simple analysis here. If, for instance, we take the money that was allocated to minority serving institutions in 2007, which was $1 billion, and just gave that money, you know, to California schools. I'm comparing here 2009, 2010 cost of educating per student. Okay, so a very, very simplistic approach. Okay, take the $1 billion here and say, I'm going to give this all to the community colleges in California, and this is the cost of education. Very simplistic. Okay, I'm trying to make a point here. I am the keynote speaker, so you have no choice. Okay. And just divide 1 billion by 3,212 per year per student. That means we could have served 311,000 more students. But we didn't get the money. All those big universities got the money. Okay. Of course, they're now starting to realize that community colleges are very important. Okay, just for engineering, for instance. Okay, this is a graph of the students who got bachelor's degree in 2008. Okay, in engineering, as you can see here, for CSUs, 41% of those engineering bachelor's degree recipients started from a community college. 23 from UCs and about 32%. And some of you would say, oh, those are really good numbers. I mean, that means about a third of every engineering bachelor's degree graduate is actually a transfer student from a community college. Well, it's okay, but we're really not doing such a good job compared to all other majors. So maybe we just have a whole bunch of lazy community college engineering professors, you know, who are not doing their jobs. Because other majors are doing much better. And these numbers are going down. And part of the reason is because the engineering programs in California community colleges are actually struggling, okay, for a number of reasons, but mainly it's because of the erosion of the lower division engineering curriculum. About 18 years ago when I started teaching at Cañada College, you know, all universities and all majors, you know, mechanical, civil, electrical, blah, 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 they all were taking the same core of engineering courses. But since then, this core of lower division engineering courses that used to be a requirement for all students, you know, they just start diverging. The variability of required courses among institutions. So, which to me doesn't make sense. You know, if you're a civil engineer and you want to go to San Jose State, requirements are different. If you want to go to UC Berkeley, Santa Clara University, SF State, Okay, and also variability for different majors. Civil engineers have different requirements from mechanical engineers. As a small community college and small engineering program, I cannot afford to run a class on material science for civil engineers who are going to Berkeley. I'll probably get half a student every semester. So as a result, we're not able to sustain our enrollment. And variability of course content. I did a study of, I looked at the freshman programming class required of engineering students for transfer, and I saw 12 different programming languages. Some schools require Fortran, C, C++, Java, and some of them even have languages I've never heard of. So I cannot run a program like that. But as a result, okay, the viability of engineering programs in community college, you may not be aware of this, but your math department might, the physics department might be aware, you know, and resulting in cancellation of engineering courses and entire programs. I've had colleagues who lost their job, tenured faculty, they canceled the program, they lost their jobs. Okay, and of course, this is in complete contradiction to what we're trying to do, is broadening participation, increasing the number and diversity of future engineers. So how does this relate to our topic today? So I was going through this around 2006, 2007. You know, it's starting to affect my program. I was starting to, actually started around 2003. That actually motivated me to, it's a good thing, it motivated me to get more resources, you know. And I became successful, and I started to get more resources. But I was really trying to do what I can in order to make sure that the program, you know, stays healthy, and that I still have a job, you know. And one of the most successful strategies for me was getting into online teaching. Okay, I would like to be able to say that I went into online teaching because I wanted to serve students who otherwise would not have been able to take those classes. That would have been a noble reason. But it wasn't true. I would like to be able to say that I really enjoy cutting edge technology, and that's why I wanted to do online. That's really not true. I told you, we didn't have electricity or TV when I was growing up. You know? And just to give you an example, I'll show you my cell phone. Okay, it's 12 years old. It's not smart. Okay, and yeah. It doesn't even have a camera. Have you ever seen a vehicle? No camera. A cell phone with no camera. I've had this for 12 years. So I do not necessarily like technology. I would like to be able to say that I started online teaching because I really believed it was effective. I would be lying to my team. I really didn't think it was effective. Okay. So the real reason why I went to online teaching is really just self-preservation. You know, enrollments in my courses were becoming really low because of the various reasons that I was showing you. So every semester, I'm always nervous. Oh my God, is this class going to run or not? You know. So I said, maybe I should try online teaching. Maybe I'll have more students. Okay? Of course, nobody knew that was my only sole reason. Nobody knew also that if I was going to go to online teaching, I have my own set of requirements that I need to fulfill. First, there should be little or no extra cost on my part. Second, there should be little or no extra time to prepare and deliver. And third, the students must be reasonably successful. You know, I was stretching the word reasonably. I was thinking, oh, if 20% of my students, because I've heard stories, you know, before I started teaching, you know, I heard stories saying, oh my God, 60% of them never ever show up. So I said, if I have 20% of them, you know, complete the class, I'd be happy. I feel good about myself. I'd serve those students who otherwise would not have been able to take the class. You know. So I wanted to make sure that these three requirements, I don't think they're unreasonable requirements. You might disagree, but. So I found the perfect solution. It's really the combination of CCC Confer and tablet PCs. and I'll show you how it satisfies my 3 requirements. Teaching online with little or no cost, at least CCC confers free for me and my students, so that's good. The tablet PCs, I've been using tablet PCs to an HP grant, so I've had those available. I use them mainly to generate class notes. This is a tablet PC, but it's not. So I just tried, kind of like this was way before iPads came into becoming popular. So I already had tablet PCs and CCC is free. The second one is it has to cost me little or no extra effort. And indeed it does. So here's the older version of CC Confirm. Most of you are familiar with this. I heard that it's going to change starting July 14th, right? Okay. So it's so easy that there are only 3 clicks that I had to do. First one is turn on my microphone. Second one is share my desktop. And the third one is start recording. Literally, those were the only 3 things that I had to learn to do online teaching, because all the rest I was using my tablet PCs to run. You should see, or maybe you shouldn't. My writing on the board, you think my writing is bad. Plus the fact that I only get to use like the lower half of the blackboard, so it's not really very effective. So it was really simple, and I am so lazy that I don't want to take the responsibility for the 3 clicks. So in all of my classes, I have a designated person who has to remind me to do all the 3 things before I start. And boy, do they get in trouble if I miss some of them. So I do that. And the third, the students have to be reasonably successful, and I wanted to be able to convince myself that this is really the case. So I did a case study, okay, comparing, actually it's a combination of 2008 and 2009 circuits courses. I use circuits because it's the one course that still pretty much is required of all majors. I wanted to have numbers in my study. So I studied 2 sections every spring semester. Okay, so we only offer it once a year. We offer 2 sections, one online and one on campus, but it's counted only as one for faculty. I don't want to get my dean in trouble, but I think it's okay to do that, right? So basically I'm delivering my lecture to my face-to-face students, and I'm using CC Confer to deliver it to online students at the same time, and synchronously, and also record it, okay? And I use, as I said, tablet PCs to generate my class notes. Don't use the board anymore, okay? It saves on ink too. My pen doesn't run out of ink. And I use CC Confer to deliver content synchronously and also archive the lectures. And all the class materials are available to both sections. Everything's the same. Okay, and I had to combine results from 2 years, spring 2008 and spring 2009, just to increase the statistical, I pronounced it correctly, the statistical reliability of the study. So for 2008, I had 15 online students and 14 on campus. So you can see how I'm bordering on getting nervous. If I only had on-campus 14, of course, she was not my dean yet, so I mean, she would have supported me if it was her. Oh, or was that your first semester? No? Oh, yeah, I think she started. Okay, anyway. So, then online for 2009 and 16 on campus. So I collected data, okay, 15 homework sets, which were uploaded to the class website or submitted in person or uploaded for on campus. A lot of online students are actually Cañada College students. Some of them gave their homework to their classmates. They just couldn't be physically in the class because they have to work or they have scheduling conflicts. So I gave them, so it's flexible. And I gave 4 tests, and they have a choice. The online students have a choice to take it in class with the rest of the students, or they can take it in the learning center, and then the same final exam, the same options. And in addition to comparing this performance in the class, I also did a first week survey just to understand who is online student, who's not, and also an end of semester survey to kind of understand how they use the different resources that I provide for them. Okay? So, in terms of the demographics of the students, in comparison of the online and on-campus students or face-to-face students, the only difference I see is that there's a higher concentration of electrical engineers in the on-campus, which is sort of understandable because this class is circuits. So this is the first electrical engineering course. So like me, most of those students probably think, if I am an electrical engineering student, I should probably be in front of the teacher so I can learn more. Okay, so that's probably one of the reasons. Another main difference is, okay, there's a much higher concentration of students in the on-campus sections who are also taking the lab class. Just to give you a background, circuits has a lecture and lab, okay. Lecture is required for just about every major, but lab is optional for mechanical and civil, and it depends on where you're transferring to. Okay, and it also makes sense that if a student is already on campus taking the lab, might as well be in the face-to-face class for the lecture part. Okay, but take note of those two main things: more electrical engineers, okay, and more students who are concurrently taking the lab for the on-campus class. Those two factors are very important because I would have expected the on-campus students to be a lot more successful, to outperform the online students, simply because it's a circuits class and EEs really want to focus on that class. Plus we all know that electrical engineers are the smartest of engineers. I'm not an electrical engineer. And second, okay, I have a lot more on-campus students who are taking the lab, and the lab is really just experimental verification of what you learn in the lecture. So you would expect that these students would have a deeper understanding and therefore should do better compared to the online students. Okay, but that was not necessarily the case. Okay, if you look, I was surprised really at the retention rate. Okay, the same number of students dropped from both classes. It's slightly slower percentage here because your base is lower. It's 25 versus 30. But I don't know how many, I think it's 5 students, maybe 4, dropped. So there's no difference in terms of retention. Success rate, exactly the same. Okay, homework average, so if you look at these numbers here, there's no statistically significant difference in the performance. In fact, on the final course grade, it looks like the online campus, the online students like 0.1% higher. So I was really happy when I saw that, but at the same time, I was disturbed. It's like, oh my God, I must really, really suck as a lecturer. Look at all the face-to-face students who were there every single time, and they're supposed to do much better, and they're not. Because most of the time, the online students are not really participating in the synchronous lectures because they are taking the class online because they have some other commitment. So the only contact I have with them is during office hours, which are also through Confer, and the archives that I do for all of the lectures and the online hours. So I was thinking, oh my God, I must really suck as a lecturer. Maybe I should go back to my childhood dream of becoming a basketball player. But it was too late by then. So I started thinking, how did these online students manage to do as well as the on-campus student, despite the fact that, number one, very few online students actually attended the class synchronously. Okay, most of them probably studied on their own or looked at the archive. Number two, there are more EE majors in the on-campus section than the online section. Okay, and there are more students on the on-campus section taking the lab class. At this point, I could just have concluded, oh, maybe I just really, really am a bad teacher. Okay, but I wasn't about to give up, so I looked at the usage of the resources that we had. How do you like the post-load notes? How do you like using tablet PCs for me generating notes and so on and so on? How do you like web access? And the only area, so everything was pretty much the same, no here we go, statistically significant difference in the responses, except in one area, the downloading of archived CCC confer lectures. Okay, so I investigated that further, okay, and sure enough, the online people were reviewing more regularly. By the way, the actual average number of times that they downloaded the class was actually a 3-hour lecture for 16 weeks. So there will be 15 or maybe 14 archives. Yes, I lecture for 3 hours. I take a break now. So if a student reviews it every week, it should be an average of 14 times. Online students were actually reviewing the archives 22.5 times compared to 3.8. Okay, so it's really the difference was in the number of times that they were downloading the CCC control archive, which sort of makes sense. I started looking at literature, and indeed, just simply giving the students the ability to control, to fast forward, rewind when they don't understand something, it really, really significantly increases the learning, which makes sense, right? As a student, boy, I would have wished I could fast forward some of my teachers, in their lecture. I would have probably learned more, So I showed this study to my students the following year, and just to give you an idea, I haven't looked at the previous semester, this winter. There's now no statistically significant difference in the number of times that the online and the on-campus students review. So even it's 26 versus 14, they're statistically not a difference because of the wide, big standard deviation. So this I emphasize to my face-to-face students. Yes, you think you're getting a lot of my lecture because I'm such a great lecturer, but it would help a lot if you review the archives, and they do. So what has been the impact of this CCC confer on my engineering enrollment? Okay, this is the enrollment since I started teaching online. Okay, it has been increasing steadily except for this part here. And my dean knows exactly what happened here. In fall 2011, okay, our district made a decision that my classes were not online but rather hybrid. And there's a note on the scheduled classes saying hybrid is contact of about 50 to 99%. So of course, if you're a student who's going to take a class online, you see hybrid 50%, you'll avoid that. They made a decision that if the students are required on campus, because I required the students to come for the test. So they said that's not online anymore. So they're no. Then we corrected that. So because the students actually don't have to be on campus, they can take their test elsewhere. I have had students in New York, Brooklyn, take the class. Last semester I had someone from UC Irvine. I had a few from Odessa Junior College because they canceled their engineering program. And the students were and those students actually, a lot of times they would rather come to campus, take the test rather than taking it there because they said, it's not that bad of a drive. And during the final exam, the students were so thankful that they had this option because otherwise they would not have been able to transfer. And that's really part of the reason why I continue doing this. Now, surprisingly, remember what I wanted as one of my requirements? I want my online students to be reasonably successful. Okay, so not only was my enrollment growing, which hopefully made my dean happy, okay, but I was surprised to see that my students, both in the online section and the face-to-face section, are actually becoming more successful. They're staying with it, and they're passing the class. Which to me is really a very, very, very nice surprise. I would have been happy if I had just had enough in the beginning so that the class doesn't get canceled. So remember I said, I wish I can say that I really believed in the effectiveness of online learning, and that's the reason why I started doing it. No, it wasn't the reason, but now there's no going back for me. I really know that it's effective. The numbers say that. So just to give you like an overview of how I do my class, I think I did a little bit. So I deliver content synchronously. So I have a regular section, face-to-face, and online section. Okay, I use the computer projector just like this. Most of the time my tablet PC is flipped, so it's easier for me to write. And at the same time, I have online students who are logged on to CCConfirm can participate in the lecture. Okay, I really like to make everything simple, so I don't share applications. Those of you who use CCConfirm, I just share my desktop. So I can go from one application to other without having to think that, oh, I need to share this with the students. So initially I had 2 computers. I like PowerPoint because in presentation mode you're able to use all your screen to write. And you know, when you teach engineering or math, you write a lot of things. Okay, so I don't use the whiteboard on CCConfirm because it uses up the part of the screen. But as a result, I'm not seeing the CCConfirm screen, so I don't know what students are typing, okay, or what are they doing with the whiteboard. So I used to have 2 computers, one for me and one logging as me and one logging as a student, just to see what's going on, okay? And I record all sessions, both lectures and office. Oh, I really love being able to record office hours. You know, I like having one-on-one office hours with students, but it's difficult if you have students asking the same questions over and over again. You know, here I go, oh, I answered that last night. Just check the archive. So I'm able to be more effective and efficient in covering content. As I said, first day of the semester, there's a designated student who will remind me of the 3 clicks. If they mess up, oh, they get fired from their position. So they really take it seriously. I use PowerPoint for lectures, okay, something that I had prepared previously, but I also use Windows Journal, OneNote and PDF Annotator for on-the-fly things. And everything I do, one good thing about using a tablet PC is whatever you do, it's in electronic format that you can post on your website. It's available for students. So students are able to focus on listening to the instructor rather than trying to frantically keep up with the lecture. Who said this? Someone, I think it was in our last week's. Did you mention, Blaine, something about an instructor who had a pen and an eraser on the other hand? As he writes, he erases. His logic was, I want my students to be keeping up with me. I wanted to be able to take good notes. You know. I don't know how effective that was. Just to give you a little more detail on how I do it. So there's pretty much 3 basic types of PowerPoint slides that I have in my lectures. First one is something like this, where everything is pretty much there, and I just go through it. If it doesn't make sense to you, it's okay. It's in engineering. So this is something that I can do quickly, okay? And I use this for some things that the students are already supposed to know. This concept here is something they did in physics. I don't want to go through them one by one again, so I just do my PowerPoint. I like the PowerPoint because you can animate it, you know, like so. Of course, plus the fact that I could not have generated this 3D picture by hand with this quality. So that's the first general type of a slide. The second type would be something like this. It already has the framework or the outline, and I kind of fill it in. So it would be like this before my annotation, and it will be like this after the annotation. And I always have 2 versions of my PowerPoint. One that is annotation free, and one with annotations. And I post the annotation free one before the topic is covered, and then I keep updating it as we go on. And the third type is one that starts from scratch. Nothing in it but my writing. It's not the best handwriting, but as I said, you should see my handwriting on the board. Okay, and I also do use PDF Annotator because a lot of the materials provided by textbook manufacturers are in PDF form. You know, it allows you to write directly on PDFs. We actually bought property in San Diego using PDF annotator without having to go to San Diego because you can sign, you know, how much you need to sign. You know, with PDF annotator, take a PDF and you can sign. Unfortunately, I bought PDF annotator when I found out about it in a conference, not knowing that there's a free version of it, the precursor called Journal, which is an open source. But I'm happy with PDF, and I paid $69 and a long time ago, and I'm still using it. They come up with updates. I never updated. It's still working fine. I also use Windows Journal, okay, which comes free with a tablet PC, and also OneNote, which is standard on Microsoft Office. And of course, you can use your tablet PC and write on Word documents as well. Okay. If you are going to do something like this, we're probably doing something like this already. My suggestion is to make sure that everything is really easily accessible to students. You know, post direct links to sessions and to archives. So when I don't know how CCC Confer people feel about this. So for instance, if they want to log into my session, they don't have to go to the, sorry, to the login, you know what I'm talking about. They go directly to the sections, you don't have to go to. Just let me know if I should change that. Because it probably messes up the way you're probably trying to keep track of who's using what, but maybe I shouldn't have said that. I also try to make my lectures more interactive, and you can use this with technology. I actually started doing this even before I started, 12 minutes, 10 minutes, okay. Before I started using online teaching. Okay, so these things are things that you can do with CCC. Oh, I wanted to see this. I wanted to show you this. I really have to show you this. It's hilarious. Of course, we're having technical difficulty. If we have time, I'll take you there. It's ink survey tool, and there's this guy from Colorado School of Mines, who, I will show you later. But I want to focus on how I created an interactivity in my classroom using what we call net support. Before we do that, hold on a second. This part here, encourage students to answer questions from one thing I like about CCC Confer, and I didn't really realize this until I was in a conference in DC. So even when I go to conferences, I don't cancel my classes. I do my classes in DC, and I just use the free internet in the room. You know. So one time, Janet knows this. One time I was lecturing, so I don't have my two computers. I'm not seeing what the student screen is looking like. So I was lecturing, but I want us to focus over here, okay? Because I want us to focus on the interaction that the students are doing, and I was actually unaware of it. Because I was in DC, I don't have my complete setup. You know, you see this, the lady's asking, where's the pipe I'm coming from? I wasn't seeing this because I didn't have my students. So the students were actually talking to each other, interacting, answering each other's questions without me even realizing it. So it's like allowing students to talk to each other during class. And while I'm there, I don't think I can handle it. But here, they're able to do it effectively to CCC Confer. So I thought I'd throw that in. You know, imagine your students are talking to each other. Where did that pipe come? Grace, you have a question? Ask me. But I wasn't aware. So from then on, I actually started encouraging them to do this. You know, because they're actually talking about things in the class. Now, and there's a lot to be said about making your lectures more interactive. To me, it started out when I went to a conference in 2003, where this guy's presentation, James Jacobs, he was teaching chemistry then, started with this definition. Lecture is where instruction takes place with or without learning. this was a conference, and this, of course I said initially I was into alcohol, not me. I went into teaching because I'm a great lecturer. Then I started thinking about what I was doing in class and how my students were really learning. And soon enough I realized it's not really due to my great lectures. Don't get me wrong, I give great lectures. It's really when they start doing problems, doing homework problems, is that when the learning started occurring. So I started thinking, wouldn't it be nice, instead of the students learning during homework, when they're doing homework and they don't have the event, it wouldn't be nice if learning actually takes place in the classroom. So I started trying to imagine what my classroom is going to look like if I had this ideal setting. Okay? Oh, by the way, this guy, just to make a point, show his slides showing a positive correlation between number of absences and students' scores in the exam. So what that means is, the more students do not attend class, the better they perform on a test. Just to make a point that lecture is really useless. I mean, traditional lecture. And this is like years and years of data with thousands and thousands of students. This from Arizona State University. Got me really worried about that. So I started rethinking what my classroom, if I had, if I can be an engineer, I wanted to first start from scratch and think about and the problem and ideally how they can solve it. So I want all my students to be able to participate. Okay, I can assess them more frequently, and the quality of assessment will be better, and I'm able to provide guidance individually, and so on and so forth. So I came up with this model, actually, myself and my colleague, Professor Iverson, who teaches computer science, and you can see the computer science. He actually came up with this model. You can see the computer scientist in him. It's called the interactive learning network. The red dot is the instructor terrorizing the white dots, which are the students. I don't know why he selected red, but focus on the connections. Those are interactions. So ideally, that's what I want to happen in the class. And you can create this in an online environment. You're able to communicate with your students individually, and the students themselves are able to. So I don't have a lot of time, but I'll really rush through this. Being a teaching conference, I thought I mentioned the word pedagogy. So I would sound like I know what I'm talking about. So I started rethinking my lecture, so by making it shorter, and I use using tablet PCs and net support schools to increase the interaction. Many of these things you can do with CC Confirm, okay, and Xsurveyton. There's a lot of tools there. So what I like about net support is I will get, instead of doing all the possible combinations of problem types that I traditionally did to make sure that, oh, I need to cover this type, then I've done my job. I just start with a simple problem, and the rest of them, the more complicated problems, the students actually work on their own, and I'm observing them and helping them individually through technology using net support. So that's the gist of what I was trying to. I like this when I'm looking at each of the computers. I can go to a specific student and start working on what they're doing. They lose control, but I'm a control freak. So when I'm doing something on their work, I want them to not be able to do anything. So I did a little bit of research, just trying to see the effectiveness of this model, and it really worked very well. I don't have time to go over this. But just to summarize what happened, okay, comparing interactive learning network to the traditional, okay, there's statistically significant increases in student performance. These are not statistically significant according to the statistics, but to me that's significant. Yeah? That's the difference between a C and a B. I don't care what statistics says. For me, that's good. Yeah, same thing. So I did two separate sets of studies showing that indeed this is a lot more effective. Oh, this is one good one. So I also did a pre-post test. The pre-post test is really a measure of how much prerequisite knowledge they have in physics. The prerequisite of this class was physics, second semester physics. So for the non-interactive and the interactive, at the same time I gave the same test. Okay, at the end of the semester I gave the same test, and here are the results, okay? It says here, there's in the beginning 5.5 and 5.7, so this one is the interactive, this is the non-interactive. So from pre to post, for both groups, there's a statistically significant improvement in their knowledge, which is good. At least I feel like I'm doing my job. You know, whether I'm doing traditional lecture or interactive, it looks like they're learning something. Okay. Initially, but the important thing is this. Okay, the initial difference pre-test is not statistically significant. So it looks like the non-interactive group is slightly higher, but it's not significant. But the important thing is the post, although both groups improved statistically significantly, is that correct? Okay. The improvement in the interactive group was statistically significantly better than the one compared to the non-interactive group. Anyway, so these are things that you can do in your online course. That's about the time I have. Oh, just some student comments from that class. So this is students using tablet PCs. One student said, I like instant survey because you can see whether the class understands. So it's really for formative assessment, you can really see, are they understanding? If they're not, I'll have to explain it again. If they are, I can move on. Another student said, it helped me improve my performance in class. That's a good thing. Another student said, just another tool for the math to oppress us. because this program that I have actually gives me the power to freeze the computer if I want to lock the computer, or block the application. Kind of like CCC Confer, you are not allowed to go to this website, you're not allowed to run this program, you know. I could care less what he thinks. It's effective. They really like the help request. So students are able to ask me questions directly through the computer with anonymity. You know, they don't have to raise their hands thinking that, oh my God, my question is probably stupid. You know, sometimes stupid questions I share with the rest of the class just to show that student that the question wasn't really stupid. Of course, I try not to identify with the student is. I found it very helpful having, oh my, I still have a lot of things to cover. Okay. Okay, so can I get 2 minutes? Okay. I wasn't asking you, I was asking them. Just kidding. Okay, so I think this is very important. Sharing the success I've had with other community colleges. So this is one of the NSF grants that Blaine was referring to. So we started a program called One Step, Online Network and Network Education for Students in Transfer Engineering Program. I think going for grants is all about coming up with catchy acronyms. It's funded by the National Science Foundation, and the idea is to assist other, because of the declining enrollment in engineering in community college. I wanted to help them strengthen their programs. And there's 2 components. First one is the Summer Engineering Teaching Institute, called SETI, called catchy. Okay. And the other one is the Joint Engineering Program, and I just want to show you some of the things that we did from last year and this year. So this is from last year. We had 11 participants, okay, and the SETI was really focusing on using tablet PCs and CCC Confer. And the Joint Engineering Program is we work together in order to align our curriculum and offer joint courses via CCC Confer. So for instance, I can offer a class that only Berkeley requires among civil engineers because I can pull from a wider group of institutions. Here are some pictures from last year. And for 2012 and beyond, our one-step program funded by NSF was expanded to CalStep. It's now called California Alliance for the Long-Term Strengthening of Transfer Engineering Programs. It's funded by the U.S. Department of Education. And we now have 2 satellite cities, Northern California and Southern California, and we expanded our joint engineering program. So that's Northern California, it happened about a week and a half ago. We had 26 participants. I gave them free tablet PC, free everything, and I gave them a stipend. And the Southern California is going to happen starting Sunday. I'm flying to LA Pierce. It's at LA Pierce College. The same thing, we have 14 participants. And here's some pictures from the Norcal SETI. You might recognize some faces. There's Blaine, seriously helping out a student. Oh, he's a physics engineering instructor from Contra Costa College. And there's Michelle, helping someone prepare their presentation, and I really, really appreciate them being able to help us out. Oh, and here's one instructor very proudly showing his certificate. Just an overview of our joint engineering program. We have a lot of partners now all over the state, and we are the main group that's addressing the SB 1440 for engineering, where we're working together. Anyway, thank you CCC Confer for saving my job, our engineering program, and helping me become a more effective instructor. I went beyond my time, hoping that we won't have any time for questions. I'm not done yet. Do we have time for questions? Okay, Alex.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I'm a little confused about the SETI program in Southern California that's at Pierce. And is that a class or a group of classes? What is
Yeah,
it?
it's a 3-day workshop. So what we've done to design the course is we survey the participants what they want to see, but it's currently focusing on how to use tablet PCs and CCC Confer and online education for engineering, physics, and math. So our focus is on those 3. And we're going to do this again for the next 4 years. So you will hear announcements about it. But the content is based on what the participants want to see. Oh, that wasn't too bad. No more questions, right? Thank you all for listening. I know it's